The UN World Tourism Organization is holding its 104th session of its board members in the city of Luxor over in Egypt this week. 50 countries are taking part in that event. They're going to be evaluating the status of the global tourism industry. Yasser Hakim is there. He spoke to Talib Rifai, the Secretary General of the UN World Tourism Organization.
This is the meeting of the Executive Council of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. It's a meeting that takes place every year in a different place. This year we decided to hold it in Egypt, and in Luxor in particular. This is a message. It's not just a place to meet because we have to meet. It's a message to the rest of the world that Egypt is and will continue to be one of the prime tourism destinations in the world. It's also a message to the people of Egypt to tell them that the world is with them and the world hasn't forgot them. They need uplifting, they need support, and I think we've already managed to create an atmosphere and a spirit of energy and a spirit of positive thinking amongst the people here, and that's the purpose of this meeting.
How can these countries face the challenges that are taking place now in order to attract investors and tourists back to the country?
There are many reasons. It's a complex situation. There are reasons that are inherent within some of the circumstances that happened, some of the incidents that occurred in Egypt, which is natural. Tourism is a very sensitive industry, and anything that happens in Egypt or anywhere around the world will affect the flow of traffic to a certain destination. But the second thing is the context of the regional perception of the world. The perception about the Middle East in general has not been a very positive perception. And some countries are suffering by association to this. It's not just Egypt. Jordan, Tunisia, many of these countries that are very important prime tourism destinations are suffering not because of things they did or they did not do, but simply because they are nearby and surrounded by pockets of tension and instability.
There's been an economic recession globally, and obviously the surge in terrorism around the world. Has this affected the flow of tourism annually?
Surprisingly, tourism against all odds continues to grow in spite of everything. In the last 15 years, just to give you an example, only 3 times have tourism taken a dip only for 1 year, and then it resumed its growth of 4.5% to 5% year by year. The first time was in 2001, September 11. The second was in 2005 with SARS in Asia. And the third one was 2008 for the economic situation. For the last 6 years, we have seen consecutive growth without any interruption. All in all, tourism is growing at a rate of 4.5% to 5% growth every year on year. Last year, there was 1,187 million, almost 1.2 billion international tourists that crossed borders in 1 year. The growth of tourism is happening against all odds. And in spite of the trends in economic downturns, political tensions, natural disasters, currency exchange, prices of oil, still tourism is growing. People are going to continue to travel. It has become part of their way of life, part of their culture, and it's not going to stop.
Is Africa on your agenda? Where is Africa on the world map for tourism?
Absolutely. Africa is one of the most rising and one of the most promising destinations. Africa now receives over 52, 53 million international tourists a year. This is way below what Africa deserves. It's less than 5% of the international stock of tourism. The space for growth in Africa is huge, unlike other destinations that have become mature and saturated destinations. But Africa has to calculate its growth in a good way, so it makes sure that it grows in a sustainable way and not in a way that is detrimental to its own assets. Africa is the future without doubt, and it's growing in an incredibly good manner. North Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa are becoming prime tourism destinations, quite advanced, quite sophisticated, and anybody that thinks that investment is a possibility should think about Africa nowadays.